I got the low profile cleats for the Diamondback covers. These come from Powell in Texas, and we're gonna unbox what he sends here. So first, we got some hardware, some nuts and washers. We got some screws, some button head screws, looks like with an Allen fitting. Drill guides, I believe he includes one of these. I'm actually helping him test the quality of these drill guides today. Everything's well packaged. Let's take a look here at the cleats themselves. So everything's well wrapped, like you can see. These are a high quality aluminum piece. You can see that they are nicely finished, anodized in black. So you can order these individually from him. He has a price per unit, and then you can request the drill guide. You can also request the hardware or hardware recommendations. I got 4 of these for my Switchback cover. That'll be on a 2020 GMC Sierra 2500. One thing to note about the Switchback cover is that each of the panels is a different thickness or height off of the bed rail. So we'll go over that when we get to the truck and do the install video. But as I mentioned, really high quality finish, nice pieces. And Brock does a great job of including everything that a person could need to put these together. All right, now before we get started, a couple things you're going to need to do this installation. You're going to need one of the drill guides that Brock provides upon request. You're going to need something to mark your holes. You're going to need a punch. You're going to need a tape measure. You're going to need a Allen either bit or an Allen wrench. That is a 3/16. You're going to need a 13 millimeter socket. You're going to need a 5/16 inch drill bit to fit the hardware. As I mentioned, this is going on a 2020 GMC Sierra 2500 pickup. I think it's a 6'10" box. It's the standard bed, not the long bed. And Diamondback Switchback cover. So primarily with the restoration business, I'm pulling a car trailer, and then also for leisure, we pull a fifth wheel with a Reese Goose box. So use this to double up and open up so I can pull the fifth wheel. But thing about the Switchback to know is that each of these panels is a different height off of the bed rail. So this first one here is measuring on the diagonal about 2 3/8. This next one is about 2 1/8. And then this last one here is about 1 7/8. And so when you're drilling these, depending on where you want them in the kind of center profile of that side of the cover, you're gonna have to put them in a different spot. And so I'll give you the center measurement on each of these. So for a moment, I wanna show you how I measured the front panel on the Switchback being 2 3/8 inch tall. So I'm hooked right on the bottom by the gasket up to the top, 2 3/8. And I did the same for each of the other panels down the line. I'm going to install mine on the front panel and on the rear panel. So I would like to have them centered in the panel on each side. So simply enough to do that, I am going to measure this top at 30 inches. So 15 inches here is where I'm gonna center my cleat, and I'll do the same on the rear panel. Coming to the rear panel, again, I'm gonna measure it the same way. So just taking this front face or this top face, it is 24 inches. So at 12 inches is where the center of my cleat will be. I'm gonna do the same on all 4 sections. On this front panel, as I mentioned, from this to here is 30 inches. So my midpoint is 15 inches. I've measured that. I've made my mark at 15 inches. Now when Brock gives you your guide, it will be including just this hole and this hole. I've modified this because I'm helping him get some measurements for a better guide for the switchback. But you can see he's giving you a center point here and a center line and a center hole. And so now what I need to do is I need to mark the holes that are going to be 1 inch and 3/16, which will center vertically on this panel here. And so simply enough, you take this bottom edge, you push it, making sure you're not under the gasket, and you put it right on your center line. That then gives you your place to mark your holes. You should be able to see my 2 marks there. And here you can see exactly what that's gonna look like when installed. I've made sure it's level, I've made sure it's centered, I've made sure it's centered this way. So now it's as simple as punching my pilot marks using a pilot drill bit and then stepping up to the 5/16 drill bit to allow the hardware to go through. Now these are an aluminum cover, so the metal is very easy to work with. It's also very important though to make sure you're precisely where you want to be with these. So now that I've punched my hole, it's as simple as drilling my pilot hole. Once the pilot holes are drilled, it's as simple as stepping up to the full-size bit. Now, something I like to do while I'm doing this is check my work to make sure that if I need to make any adjustments right now in terms of level or center, I can do so before I punch the bigger hole. And everything looks good. So now I'm going to go ahead and drill these, attempting to stay at the same pitch as the bed cover. Now that has been done, looks good. Take my hardware and place them through. Go ahead and screw them in. Now because I'm using a 5/16 drill bit, tolerances are very tight. You could go up a 32nd or even a 16th for a slightly larger size hole. Give you a little bit more adjustability. I want to make sure that this remains watertight. So I'm just going to use a little bit of clear silicone and I'm going to put that under the heads of these bolts and also just a small bit around the hole to try to keep this as watertight as possible. Then I'll grab my rag, give this a quick wipe. And proceed to put the bolts back in. Okay, so now I'm going to flip the cover open and we're going to put the nuts and washers on from the backside. All right, now that I got the fronts done, it's time to do the rear panel. Again, I'm skipping the middle panel, but that would be as simple as following the same procedure. Finding your center here, which on the middle panel on this truck is 25 3/4. So that would be 12 and 15/16. You would then take your drill jig and put your holes right there in the middle, which are about 1 inch and a 1/16 up from the bottom, and you would attach your cleat there. I am doing the rear panel as mentioned. And again, all these measurements in terms of center this way are based on this cover. The vertical centering though should be universal across the diamond plate switchbacks. So this time, this rear panel is 24 1/4. So we need to go to 12 1/8 And we need to mark our center line. So that is right there. And now I need to grab my drill jig, and I'm going up 15/16 of an inch to make sure I capture the center of this panel. Just before we get started, I do want to check that this is the way I want it, which it is. So I will go ahead, punch, drill pilot, drill my bigger hole. You can see now that I have that plugged in place, and if we come around over here, you can see that both the front and the rear are installed. All right, so something I want to show you when you're bolting these in, like the fronts are straightforward. You just put the washer and nut on the back. Same if you were to do the middle. On these rears though, on mine, when I center it, you can see that this hold down piece is right in the way of being able to get a washer in there. So I had to go with just a nut, but I was able to get the washer supplied and the nylock nut on the rear. Same on both sides, but just one careful consideration that you're gonna need to make. All right, so a couple things in summary. When you go to put these in, they are really high quality pieces, high quality hardware, awesome precise drill guides, etc. But remember on the Switchback, at least for the 2020 to I think 2024 Sierra 2500, 3500, the top, the middle, or the front, the middle, and the rear are different thicknesses. So don't just drill them all the same, because the middle is going to be different in each one. The other thing is when you're putting this one in, you can use the washers on all the holes on the inside, except for this one right here, where that latch on this truck, it's right in the middle of where that latch is that holds this down. So you're going to have to just do a nut only. The last thing I'll say is, in the beginning I said use a 13 millimeter socket. I end up having to use a 13 millimeter open end wrench on all of them just because of the angle they're in, and there's a flange that sits right down here. But washers, nuts, everything, no problem. So super happy I did it. They seem really strong, and I'm really looking forward to using them. Thanks, Brock.